Hello, hello, hello. DM Geezer Jim back, continuing in the Chapter 3 DM's Toolbox. Fair warning and forewarning, these videos will vary in length as each of these small sections within the toolbox vary in length and depth. But we are reading them word for word, line for line, straight out the book, and the end of the video will have a little bit of commentary, my personal opinion on some of the things that are being presented. But thank you so much for joining us on this series as we continue on in RTFM, Read the Frickin' Manual, Dungeon Master's Guide 2024. So the next section is chases. The rules for movement in combat don't translate to every situation. In particular, they can make a potentially thrilling chase seem dull and predictable. Faster creatures always catch up to slower ones, while creatures with the same speed never close the distance between each other. Use the following rules to introduce random elements that make chases more exciting. Know the capability of the characters in your party before you make a chase an important feature of an adventure. A character with a high speed or the right spells such as Dimension Door, Fly, or Hold Monster can often end a chase before it begins. Beginning a chase. A chase requires at least one quarry and at least one pursuer. Any participant not already in initiative order must roll initiative as the chase begins. As in combat, each participant in the chase can take one action and move on its turn. When a chase begins, determine the starting distance between the quarry and the pursuers. Track the distance between them and designate the pursuer closest to the quarry as the lead. The lead pursuer might change from round to round. Running the chase. Participants in the chase are strongly motivated to take the dash action every round. Pursuers who stop to cast spells and make attacks run the risk of losing their quarry, and a quarry that doesn't take the dash action is likely to be caught. Dashing. A chase participant can take the dash action a number of times equal to 3 plus its constitution modifier, minimum of once. Each additional dash action it takes during the chase requires the creature to succeed on a DC 10 constitution saving throw at the end of its turn or gain 1 exhaustion level. A participant drops out of the chase if its speed is 0. Spells and attacks. A chase participant can make attacks and cast spells against other creatures within range. Chase participants can't normally make opportunity attacks against each other since they are all assumed to be moving in the same direction at the same time. However, participants can still be the targets of opportunity attacks from creatures not participating in the chase. For example, adventurers who chase a thief past a gang of ruffians might provoke opportunity attacks from the ruffians. Ending a chase. A chase ends when one side or the other stops, when each quarry escapes, or when the pursuers are close enough to their quarry to catch it. If neither side gives up the chase, the quarry makes a dexterity stealth check on initiative count 0 each round, after every participant in the chase has taken its turn. If the quarry is never out of the lead pursuer's sight, the check fails automatically. Otherwise, compare the check's total to the passive perception scores of the pursuers. If the quarry consists of multiple creatures, they all make the check separately, so it's possible for one quarry to escape while others remain in the chase. The quarry can gain advantage or disadvantage on its checks based on the circumstances as shown in the Escape Factors table. Escape Factors table has 2 columns. The left column says factor, as in what's going to influence this roll, and the check will the right column says if the check will have advantage or disadvantage. These are examples. This is not a comprehensive table. Just some guidelines for you. Escape factors. There's many things for the quarry to hide behind. They'll have advantage on their stealth check. If the area is very crowded, they'll have advantage on their stealth check. If there's few things to hide behind, they'll have disadvantage on their stealth check. Or in an uncrowded area, they'll have disadvantage. Other factors might help or hinder the quarry's ability to escape at your discretion. For example, a quarry with a fairy fire spell cast on it might have disadvantage on checks made to escape because it's much easier to spot. If the total of the quarry's check is greater than the highest passive perception score of the pursuers, the quarry escapes. If not, the chase continues for another round. Escape doesn't necessarily mean the quarry has outpaced its pursuers. For example, in a city, escape might mean the quarry ducked into a crowd or slipped around a corner, leaving no clue as to where it went. Designing your own chase tables. Unusual environments might suggest unique chase tables. A chase through the sewers of the free city of Greyhawk or through the spiderweb-filled alleys of Menzoberranzan, a subterranean city teeming with spiders and worshippers of Loth, they might inspire you to create your own tables. The next section is how to handle the reverse, a few more factors. Splitting up. Creatures being chased can split up into smaller groups. The quarry can split into smaller groups. This tactic forces pursuers to either divide their forces or allow some of the quarry to escape. If a pursuit splits into several smaller chases, resolve each chase separately. You can keep all the creatures in initiative order, but track the distances separately for each group. Role reversal. During a chase, it is possible for the pursuers to become the quarry. For example, characters chasing a thief through a marketplace might draw unwanted attention from other members of the Thieves' Guild. As they pursue the fleeing thief, they must also evade the thieves pursuing them. Roll initiative for the new arrivals and run both chases simultaneously. Alternatively, the fleeing thief might run into his accomplices. The outnumbered characters might then flee with the thieves in pursuit. The next section is mapping the chase. When you plan a chase, draw a rough map that shows the route. Insert obstacles and complications at specific points, especially ones that require the characters to make ability checks or saving throws to avoid slowing or stopping, or to use the random tables of complications in the chase complications section to choose obstacles that occur at specific points. Complications can be barriers to progress or opportunities for mayhem. Characters being chased through a forest by bugbears might spot a wasp nest and slow down long enough to attack the nest or throw rocks at it to engage the wasp within, thus creating an obstacle for their pursuers. A map of a chase can be linear or have many branches depending on the nature of the chase. For example, a minecart chase might have few, if any, branches, while a sewer chase might have several. The next section is chase complications. Unexpected complications make a chase more exciting. The accompanying urban chase complications table and wilderness chase complication tables provide several examples. Each participant in the chase rolls 1d12 at the end of its turn. Consult the appropriate table to determine whether a complication occurs. If it does, it affects the next chase participant in the initiative order, not the participant who rolled the die. Characters can create their own complications to shake off pursuers or to slow their quarry. For example, casting web spell in narrow alleyways. Adjudicate these at your discretion. So here's the first one, is the urban chase complication table. 1d12 is your roll on the left side. The right side is your complications. For just so you know, on a roll of 7 to 12, there is no complication. So there's a 1 in 6 chance of, or a 50% chance of something happening on this table. So if you roll a 1, the first complication is a cart or another large obstacle blocks your way. Make a DC 10 dexterity saving throw to get past the obstacle. On a failed save, the obstacle counts as 10 feet of difficult terrain for you. On a 2, a crowd blocks your way. Make a DC 10 strength, dexterity, or charisma saving throw, your choice, to navigate through the crowd. On a failed save, the crowd counts as 10 feet of difficult terrain for you. The third thing is a maze of barrels, crates, or similar obstacles stands in your way. Make a DC 10 or intelligence, DC 10 dexterity or intelligence saving throw, your choice, to navigate the maze. On a failed save, the maze counts as 10 feet of difficult terrain for you. Number 4, the ground is slippery with rain, spilled oil, or some other liquid. Make a DC 10 dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, you have the prone condition. Rolling a 5, you encounter a mass brawl in progress. Make a 15 strength, dexterity, or saving throw, your choice, to get past the brawlers unimpeded. On a failed save, you take 2d4 bludgeoning damage, and the brawlers count as 10 feet of difficult terrain for you. Number 6, you must make a sharp turn to avoid colliding with something impassable. Make a DC 10 dexterity saving throw to navigate the turn. On a failed save, you collide with something hard and take 1d4 bludgeoning damage. On rolls 7 through 12, there are no complications. The next table is going to give us the same information for wilderness chase complications. Again, 7 through 12 is no complications, but rolls of 1 through 6 will lead us to something. So let's see what these examples are. On a roll of 1, the complication is you pass through a swarm of insects. See the monster manual, with the DM choosing whichever kind of insects makes the most sense. The swarm uses one of its actions targeting you. On a roll of 2, a stream or ravine blocks your path. Make a DC 10 strength or dexterity saving throw to cross the impediment. On a failed save, the impediment counts as 10 feet of difficult terrain for you. Number 3, make a DC 10 Constitution savings throw. On a failed save, blowing sand, dirt, ash, or snow or pollen causes you to have the blinded condition until the end of your turn. While you are blinded this way, your speed is halved. Pepper spray mode. On a 4, a sudden drop catches you by surprise. Make a DC 10 dexterity saving throw to navigate the impediment. On a failed save, you fall 10 feet. Rolling a 5 will take you, your path takes you near a patch of razor vines. See the hazards later in this chapter. Make a DC 15 dexterity savings throw or use 10 feet of movement, your choice, to avoid the razor vine. On a failed save, you take 1d10 slashing damage. And on a 6, a creature native to the area notices you. The DM chooses a creature appropriate for the terrain. Make a DC 10 wisdom or charisma saving throw. On a failed save, the creature joins the chase with you as its quarry. And of course, 7 through 12, there are no complications. So that's our section on chases. A little bit of commentary here. The first thing, very important to know the capability of your characters before you get into the chase. Exactly as it's listed here. I couldn't have said it any better. If your players have Misty Step, Beneficial Transposience, Vortex Warp, Fly, Hold Monster, or anything like that to really move up, Fly plus Haste equals a lot of movement. Your chase is over in one turn. So sometimes a chase isn't even appropriate. Depending on the terrain, depending on your player's abilities, a chase might not even be the thing that you want to do. But if you do run a chase, this has got some good options. Now, the first and foremost thing that I like about this is, where did we go? The dexterity, the ending a chase, and the dashing. Rule as written, there is no limit to the amount of times a player can dash in combat. If the rogue wants to use their bonus action to dash every single turn through 15 rounds of combat, they're not going to pick up exhaustion. The idea here is this mechanic has been added to the chase idea, the idea of running a chase encounter, to try to put a limit on it, to give us a resource. Your wizard with a constitution of 11, they're only going to be able to dash once or twice before they risk getting exhausted. They're getting tired. Ooh, man, I can't keep up this pace. I'm just a skinny little wizard boy. Meanwhile, your barbarian should be able to crank out, as many dashes as necessary to keep up. So the idea here is this is going to apply to both parties, the quarry and the pursuers. Your quarry could potentially end up exhausting themselves as well with this mechanic, so at least we can make sure that a chase doesn't go on forever. I think that's the reason why we put the exhaustion level in here, the dashing limitation. This is an optional rule. This is not a requirement, but I do like the idea of turning dashes into a resource when you're using this particular mechanic for a chase, okay? That's the first, kind of a little bit of thing. The escape factor is this table's cheesy as shit, but it does kind of give you some ideas. If there's a lot of obstructions, a lot of things to break up line of sight, or a lot of things to slow the party down, your quarry is going to have an advantage on their opportunity to sneak, okay, to hide. Once your quarry breaks line of sight, they should be looking for an escape or a place to hide, meaning your players can eventually lose the chase. Likewise, it goes the other way. Designing your own tables is an important thing because we did talk about the chase complications. Most of this was based on these tables. So different terrain, different things require a different table. Guys, you shouldn't need to worry about running a chase encounter across Icewind Dale. Unless a brother's going to dive into a snowdrift, there's going to be footprints, there's going to be good broad lines of sight. So chase encounters should only occur where they make sense. City streets, dense jungles, forests, underground caves, things like that. Something that's going to provide the quarry an opportunity to escape. Obviously, if they're running in fright across a desert, that's not much of a chase. So make sure it makes sense. The part about mapping the chase, I will say as a DM, a little bit of personal experience. Running chases on VTTs can be very difficult. Your maps are big, they're huge. You're running a long, wide area. And the other thing, when you're using a VTT, you're automatically putting a border on the areas that your quarry can go. It's only going from east to west or north to south because your map is only drawn a certain area. So my recommendation is try to run your chases in Theater of the Mind to allow for spontaneous changes of direction. This is very, very difficult on a virtual tabletop or in a VTT environment. So my recommendation is make like a flowchart map. Don't make a super detailed map of the area. to where you know where certain things are in the area that your players may not be aware of. If you have the resources, if your VTT or your games, your play area allows for a huge map, then definitely running the maps for your chases can add a lot of things. But trying to map out a chase can actually limit the options for your quarry. So keep that in mind when setting up your maps. You want to go with a flow chart, not necessarily a battle map, okay? Last but not least, they gave us two little things for chase complications, urban and wilderness. That's basic enough. Those are enough to cover most of your situations, but feel free to design your own complication tables if you prefer to. Maybe use these as inspiration for some complications that you're going to automatically add in. But yeah, that's the section on chases. I don't have a whole lot more to add to them. I think the book does a pretty good job. The DM's Guide does a pretty good job of giving you the ideas, some ideas and some optional rules and some concepts to apply should you use chases. But the most important thing is know your party. If you've got an arcane trickster that can misty step, dash, bonus action dash, and then move, well, that would bonus action, misty step, teleport, movement, and then action dash. They've covered 90 feet in one turn. If my other dude's only got 60 feet, the chase is over. If they can fly, if you have a character, even if it's not a spell ability, you got your Aarakocra Arcane Archer soaring above the battlefield at 60 feet, unimpeded by terrain, that's going to negate the chase pretty quickly, okay? So keep, at bare minimum, make sure you understand what your player's abilities are before you plan on a chase. If you are aware of their abilities and you still want to plan a chase, make sure you're setting up the terrain, the challenges, the complications to take advantage of or work against their advantages. If your Aarakocra is soaring through the skies, have the chase lead into a marketplace full of tents and other people where suddenly it's really hard to see their quarry, for example. Things like that. So, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm going to go ahead and leave off with this. We're going to get to the next chapter. We'll be creating a background on our next video. Thank you so much for hanging out. Likes, follows, subscribes are appreciated. Join us on Twitch if you want to get into some more nitty-gritty. If you have some specific details, feel free to leave some in chat on the comments here. And obviously join us for more of this series. Y'all take care. We'll see you soon.